Because you have a situation where women in the West and East Jerusalem do not want to go much to the west side or to Israel to work in Israel. Women in East Jerusalem don't get to the West Bank, to Ramallah and the West Bank cities to work there because the opportunities are not so available. I mean, there's very high unemployment already in the West Bank. So the jobs are available more to men, and the commute with the roadblocks and the checkpoints are very complicated. So women in Jerusalem have a very, very hard time finding employment. So they are underprivileged and underpaid and so forth and so on. So there are particular situations, scenarios, conditions, this is my point, for women in general. Now, if I were to again fast forward and move to 1325, formally the Palestinian Authority did adopt the resolution. Okay, I mentioned all of this. However, while we formally adopted it, I think what the question would be, what have we done to implement it? Have we adopted, have we created the national action plans, the national committees? Have we engaged civil society? Have we increased the participation of women in political decision making and so forth and so on? And the answer is not. No, we have not. Have we empowered women on their issues? Again, the answer, again, we as a Palestinian Authority, no, we have not. Has the PLO engaged more and more women in terms of negotiators? Definitely not. So the implementation of 1325 remains limited and of very limited impact. I know 1325 talks about the status of women in refugee camps, and that has been a very powerful actually point for women, and strong point, and their strong presence and participation, but again, not in decision making. But still, it's a very good step. I mean, you know. 1325 addresses the issue of of violence against women, while I think the basic law and the Palestinian Arab culture to some extent does preserve women's rights in terms of violence committed by the government against it, you know, in terms of imprisonment and so forth and so on. I think we have high incidence of domestic violence, and the Palestinian Authority has not addressed domestic violence at all. There are a lot of social working groups, civil society groups, women's legal rights groups that have addressed women's the violence, both sexual and physical, against women and girls especially. But again, it is not at that level where the government has addressed it. I leave you with some statistics based on surveys done in terms of the psychological, again, sexual violence and so forth and so on, but I don't want to belabor you with that right now. 1325 calls for national action plans. The Palestinian has supported some of the civil society organizations that have adopted the resolution and have worked with it, but have not made, again, any financial support available to them, any empowerment available to them, and so forth. In terms of the 1325's pillars, the participation, protection, empowerment, and so forth, again, women do participate, but it's very limited. You see them in the police force, you see them in, again, peace negotiations, but again, as technical support staff and so forth. We're still behind in terms of the political, governmental decision to empower women to get there. I mentioned the issue of protection. Prevention. We did adopt the national laws that that preserve women's rights, and as I mentioned, the election law does give a quota, and there are women who participate in the legislative council, who participate, that's our parliament, and who participate in ministries and government and so forth, but again, it's limited. It's okay, I don't need that. Let me, well, how am I doing on time? Okay, because I'd like to move to the conclusion really, and share with you that although, here we are. I think as I would say, as a woman and somebody who's been involved as an attorney, as a practicing attorney, as a negotiator, as a founder of several organizations, a civil society, women issues are very much at the forefront of this in terms of discussion in Palestine. There's a lot of awareness. I'll tell you, when I established my law firm way back in 1997, I had a very low rate of keeping young male attorneys on board, because as a female head of a law firm, they were kind of shamed that they have a female boss. So, but the young attorneys understood that they were getting superb training, because I was really giving solid training. So my male trainees and the lawyers were very much sought after by other law firms and the government because of the training. But many of them did not stay on with the firm because, again, they were ashamed that they had a female attorney who was very tough, very rough, and would just give them a hard time and require very high professional standards. Today, they're staying with the firm. So my point is that over the last 20 years or so, there has been a change in terms of the attitude. There is, again, more acceptance and more support for women in business, women in different professions, but again and again, we have not been able to move forward and get involved in more decision-making at the political level. The government does not preclude, of course, women, professional women, but they don't support us, and they don't create the programs and the agendas for us. In terms of 1325, and I will end with this, I would say from a social gender perspective, the resolution has been of limited impact. But from a political national rights perspective, it has been more implemented and supported, and there's more awareness about it, because I think it goes hand in hand with our national struggle for freedom and for our own statehood and becoming a sovereign state. And thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for that presentation, that overview, that analysis. I'm even more looking forward to the discussion now, and I'll pass over to our colleague.
Thank you. Hello. So my name is Lihi Joffe, as was said. I'm honored to be here and would like to thank the working group, the Palestinian Rights Committee, and especially Mrs. Silverima, for inviting me to attend this wonderful panel. I hope that we leave this room today inspired from one another, and hopefully one step closer to the change we hope to see in our world. I was born in West Jerusalem to a Jewish Israeli family and grew up just outside of Tel Aviv. As most secular children, I attended the public school system.